Untitled Anarchist Seagull Channel's Friday night stream, where we're gonna do a little bit of Geoguessr to get started, and then we're gonna get into some theory. Okay. Very rural. Hard to say for sure. This could be a lot of places. Seems like we're right-hand driving. Okay. One thing about having separate Bluetooth earbuds is that you need to charge them separately, and they don't always charge successfully. Hello, Mask. Ready to get into some theory like you'd never seen theory done before? Okay, wait, do we see some mailboxes? No. Whoa, what's this? Oh, I don't know about that. This is new. Like, this just dropped the other day. Unless you, like, regularly subject yourself to PragerU, which... Why? Like, I don't even watch it unless I'm actually streaming. Okay, yeah, we're in the US. Apple Farm, this could be a lot of places, could be... Oh, yeah, the type of thing, definitely. But no matter what type of thing it is, PragerU always does it worse. They manage to take their impressive funding and make impressively half-assed products. I mean, this could be Ohio. There are a lot of apple farms in Ohio. Indiana. A lot of places, really. It's rather nice looking. I'm not exactly hardcore in the excitement department, but, I mean, got apples, you can make cider. Who's dilettantes? Do you mean Ohio's dilettantes at growing apples? Or where? I've entirely missed. I'm not sure if we're talking about PragerU on Marxism or El Maro Winery. Okay. This is feeling... Yeah, Michigan's got a couple of wineries. Never had any of the wine. Oh, yeah. Committed dilettantes, though. I mean, you'd think that they could... What's it like? I have a feeling it would be fairly sweet. Which I don't fundamentally object to, I should say. I mean, my favorite Georgian reds tend to be quite sweet. Oh, come on. Move a little bit faster. Trempolo National Wildlife Refuge. Okay, now I'm thinking more northeastern, actually. Cool date. Oh shit. That was a sign. County G. County Route G. Okay, who has county roots and then uses letters? Could that be... Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. There's a French-speaking population even today in Winnipeg. America's byways. Okay, get in a little bit closer. Okay, 3554. That doesn't look like Pennsylvania is like more angular, isn't it? Yeah, I know, but isn't the Pennsylvania, the Keystone thing is more angular than that, I thought. Yeah. That's Wisconsin. Cool. Okay, so Wisconsin, someplace where they grow strawberries, and oh shit, I should get, if we know the state, then I should really get the route numbers, because there were several. It was an intersection. $35 and $54. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely French place names all over the place there. Okay, we're looking for 35 and 54. 54 being an east-west and 35 a north-south. 45. Ah, okay. 53. What is it? 35, 54. County state aid highways? Ah, no, that's already Michigan. That's already Minnesota. Is 53. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Those are U.S. highways, not state routes. The round ones are the state routes. 35, 54. $82, 80, Platteville, New Glarus. Didn't know there was an old Glarus. Sounds like the name of a planet in a 60s sci-fi movie. Where everyone on the planet would look at you funny. Okay, 3554. Milwaukee. I was born there and have never been back. Spent a fortnight in there in my entire life. Manitowoc. Hold on. 54 east. Okay, we got 54. No, this 54. Now it intersects with 35 and turn off County Road G. Sorry to hear what? Hello, Ludlow. 54p. Well, wait a second. Here we have H. Brown County Waste Transfer Station. Yeah, there was a sign for Pine River. Assembly of God Church. See, that's gotta be a pain in the ass. You order a deity and it turns out there's assembly required. Hold on, what was the other one? 35. Y, H, okay. Yeah, that's a very good point. I think this was literally a Pine River. A river called Pine. Oh, wait, C... Oh, G. G. Whatever it is, there is a turn on to G from 54, because we've just seen various signs announcing it. But at the same time, this is also, what was it, 35. And Gary's old stuff. Yeah, exactly. And somehow they all come together. D, W, T, D, W. I mean, there's G. Where's that? That's 55. I mean, and we're also looking for strawberries, though I don't know what the likelihood of finding those on the map is. What, I was just on 35? Yeah, I know. I've looked the entire length of 54. I'm going back over old ground because I still haven't found 35. But I still haven't found State Route 35. Yeah, this is where it ends here. There's no 54 beyond this. Let's see, here's the western end of it. And this is the western end of it. Yeah. That's the extent of it. So I haven't been zoomed in quite enough to see what I need to be seeing, is the most likely explanation. Old 54. I should have lost it. Ah, there we go. So it becomes bus 51. Ah, there's 35. And Trempealeau National Wildlife Refuge. There we go. And there's G. There's where it crosses G. Okay, we've got it. It's by the aptly named marshland. Ah, hell, okay. Okay, so there's the national. It's by Bluff Siding and Winona, northwest of Trempealeau, or however they pronounce that. Okay. There we go. 3.2 kilometers, 49.89. Okay. This looks decidedly continental. Serbia. Yeah, Poland. That's what I thought. Kunovo. Love sending me to the Polish countryside. Neural compel. It is indeed. Okay, well, wherever we are, it's on the bus line. Okay, pszenicy, scoop. Kukurudzy. Okay, somebody's selling grain. Zakład produkcyjny w Kunowie. Well, lately, like, I literally, the only thing I Googled was I wanted to confirm that, I was right about, what Pennsylvania state route signs look like, which I think, to me, the way I play it, what matters is that you are honest about the amount of Googling you do. I try to minimize it. Like, I have played it, the original way I played it was essentially anything you see on there, on a sign or something, is fair game to Google. Unless it just would totally give the game away. But lately I've been trying to see how well I can do without looking anything up. But I mean, nobody ever actually explained any specific rules to me. So, I mean, it's not like there's some sort of fair play policy like, on chess.com or something, Lee Chess or whatever. Okay, we've got names of places. Dushniki and Grzbierishko, I think. Oh, too many leaves. Like, I mean, I could easily get, I mean, if I, like, Googled Kunovo, I mean, it's such a small place, clearly, that would just give the game away, but, so I wouldn't do that. But, like, an area code, I have occasionally, I have sort of traditionally Googled, although I'm trying to do less of that and just see how well I can do without it. thing about Polish place names to me is like they always have a certain aftertaste because the first exposure I had extensively to Polish place names was growing up and reading about the Holocaust. So it's like there's always just a little bit of an aftertaste. It's like, what are we going to come upon if we keep going down the road? It is, however, quite pretty. And they make amazing pickles. Polish spicy gherkins, if you ever get a chance to try them, and you like a good gherkin, I highly recommend them. They rock. I mean, one of the best things about Britain is you have these little Polski skleps all over the place, selling all sorts of Polish goods, and so you have your selection of like artisan spicy gherkins from Poland, and they rock. Oh, see, how are we defining anarchist fiction exactly? Okay, here, Grzebienisko. Never heard of that either. That's fucking useless. Winkovo. Like, I don't know that I've read a whole lot of like explicitly anarchist fiction. I am, however, sitting on a manuscript of a novel that could reasonably be said to be some of that. I'll just have to kind of put the finishing touches, and I need somebody to do me a good cover illustration. No way I'm gonna manage. For sale. That does not help me. Hello, Jaden. How are you doing? First time here, I think, right? Neil Shusterman, what's it about? And I'm pronouncing your name right, am I? Just to make sure, because I noticed that surname looks Dutch, and I wasn't sure it could be Yaden. Baie goed. Mine is sort of a rather absurdist, satirical, queer, anti-fascist road thriller based loosely on the NSU and British collusion with loyalist paramilitaries. Okay, I'm not getting anywhere with this, and it's already past midnight, so we're just gonna say 141 kilowatt, 45, 49, not too bad, given that I was just totally guessing. Okay, we are in darkness. Okay, we are. This is left-hand driving. It looks like. Sounds interesting. Grimsby Trucksport. Truck stop. Transportbedrijf. Grimsby, this could be Yorkshire. Europark Healing, stalling with the A1136. Okay, I do believe that puts us in Yorkshire. Grimsby certainly does. And yeah, there's the A1. Yeah. Mine, I mean, the really difficult thing for mine, I started writing it in, like, I think about 2015. It started out as just a piss take of Midsummer Murders. And then I just kind of got bored with it and I didn't do anything with it for a while. And then I picked it up and I started working on it, and it ended up being this whole thing. This whole just absolutely bizarre story involving a... free G. Okay, cool. Noted. Involving a semi-professional A1173. Okay, that's A1136 we are after, but Grimsby's, right? And A1103. I mean, I think the Great Coats interchange. So she's sort of a semi-professional pub fighter who's done most of a psychology degree and ends up being, yeah, I mean, again, there's a certain amount of absurdism. Essentially, she gets done for assault police, and they decide that she's so violent they should make her a cop, and in exchange for avoiding prison. And as we meet her, she's like just counting down the days when she can leave, as she is called to the scene of a grotesque murder in a 300-foot effigy of Margaret Thatcher in a small Welsh village where they have a big fun fair every year for the anniversary of Thatcher's death, as you do. And then she goes on a mini break with an Austrian woman who makes amazing chocolate cake and who she sort of fancies. A1136, Great Coats Road. There we are. Dining and Carvery. Right down by Hull. And she ends up learning about the, her pastry making girlfriend's other life and the stuff her strange collection of exes get up to. Okay, I'm gonna call it, we're in the woods. Fuck knows where in the woods. I'm just... 724 kilometers. Shit! This is... I was gonna say, that looked familiar. That's John... I know that fucking park. Oh, fucking hell. I like, totally know that park. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I used to live right near there. Okay, 5 of 5. Okay, only one way to go. Okay, a very scuffed industrial estate. Aruti. Okay, we are in Japan. It's a scuffed Japanese industrial estate. even as I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna click a random place in North America, I was like, that sort of shale formation reminds me so much of a park I used to hike in when I was growing up. Ah, okay. Oh shit, there was a sign there. Meet the mule. And how'd you find me? I always like to know. No, this is just a company name. Some aquaculture thing. Okay. Middle of nowhere, Japan. Fuck it. Fujikawa Guchiko. Guchiko. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, well. You're in for a treat because it's this game and I'm going to rip the piss. We're gonna look at some theory. We're gonna look at a true work of theoretical. I mean, I hesitate to even elevate it to the level of mediocrity. It will be interesting. You see, come on, where the fuck are you, chat? I've got so many windows open. As you know, we anarchists have a fair few strops with the Marxists and the Leninists. Some of those things are down to legitimate disagreements on issues that actually matter. And on the other hand, there's a lot of conflict that comes from one tendency, misunderstanding the other's ideology and sources of analysis and inspiration. Where we have legit disagreements about things that are relevant to what we're all trying to do now, I think it's important to have them out, or to let new understandings emerge from shared struggle. I'm a bit of a Dharmakit gelatist in that regard. But where we're at odds over misunderstandings, I think we should overcome them in the hopes of increasing our ability to come together where we find ourselves otherwise on the same side. And so, let's have a look at a theoretical work that I think we can all agree on, if not with. Azure Scapegoat. No, I don't think I do know that one. Okay. Got our volume up to where it belongs. Let me know.
Why does anyone still care about Marxism? Karl Marx has been dead for well over a century.
Yeah, I mean, why does anyone care about things that, like, why does anyone care about relativity? I mean, that fucking Einstein, he's been dead since the 50s? Or, like, evolution? I mean, Darwin died? What's this idea that people who died might have ideas worth studying?
Everywhere Marxism has been tried, it has left death and destruction in its wake.
Which you cannot say of capitalism. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, yeah, but Jesus you can eat. I mean, so you gotta care about him. I mean, he's a healthy snack and a drink. Jesus is carbs and alcohol. Okay.
In fact, nothing in the last 1,000 years comes close to the amount of tyranny, terror, and mass murder brought about by Marxist regimes.
Well, I mean, the amount of tyranny, terror, and mass murder brought about by the United States since about 1945 comes pretty fucking close. In fact, it actually kind of exceeds it.
Yet Marxism lives. It may present itself today as postmodernism, multiculturalism, feminism, environmentalism, or critical race theory.
No. Like, literally no. Okay, yeah, you wanna, if you wanna just see some people, like, choke laughing, just go to a Marxist conference and tell them they're all just a bunch of postmodernists. Because I mean, if there's one thing that self-identified Marxists love, it's fucking postmodernism. Oh yeah, I mean, feminism, environmentalism, or critical race theory. Of course, they had to throw critical race theory in there. Okay, so we're already getting an idea of what understanding Marxism means. Yeah, I know, how terrible. I mean, are they literally trying to say that multiculturalism is an unprecedented source of death? Because...
But it's still Marxism. So, there must be good reasons why it has endured, even flourished in the face of unremitting failure. Say what you will about Marx the economist. He was a master psychologist.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, it is. It's PragerU. He was a master psychologist.
He recognized that there are many people in every society who are motivated by envy and resentment. Marx speaks directly to them. He tells them that the responsibility for the misery in their lives belongs to the capitalist system.
Well, I mean, it does. Now, you're gonna tell me that multiculturalism, feminism, environmentalism, postmodernism, and critical race theory all agree on that? Is that where we're going with this? That they all say this? Because I'm not sure who would disagree with that more strenuously. The multiculturalist, feminist, fucking postmodernists, critical race theorists, or Marxists.
If we can just get rid of that, he promises, we can eliminate poverty, inequality, exploitation, class conflict, war, and alienation. Not a bad list if you're looking to start a revolution.
And... like, okay.
But there's more.
Ooh, there's more!
Marxism assures us that this socialist utopia is close at hand.
Yes, because, I mean, if there's one term that Marx absolutely just loved, one concept that he just uncritically stand, it's utopianism.
Available to all, not in some distant future or in the next life, but here and now. All we have to do is overcome one little obstacle: human nature.
Oh, human nature. See, I mean, this is so innovative. Nobody has ever suggested to me that that communism and human nature might conflict. Because you see, I mean, communism requires our respiratory and digestive systems to reverse. You know, we have to shit out our mouths and inhale carbon dioxide.
Marx expressed his deepest views on this subject in his economic and philosophical
wow, he's got a copy of them. That looks like a first edition, too.
Manuscripts of 1844. They can be summed up in one phrase.
Oh, so we're not going to have a quote.
The enemy of being is having. In other words, the desire to own things makes you a bad person.
Okay, I will admit that that is not a work of Marx that I've read. Anyone in chat say mask, I mean, that the being and having thing sounds about right. Have you read the economic and philosophical manuscripts? That is not one of his that I think I've actually read. I'm certain that what they just said is bullshit. But I would be interested. Let me see. Ökonomische und philosophische Manuskripte. Okay. Okay, they are the result of his study of Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and other classical political economists, and his first encounter with the workers' movement in Paris during 1843-1844. Okay, so the wage form, profit and capital, alienated labor, the relation of private property. Okay. I mean, actually, being and having, that's, I mean, now that you mention it, I feel like that's actually a French philosopher. Oh fuck, that is not a very useful search term, because one of the most common German grammar questions native speakers and learners alike have is whether you form the perfect of a verb with sein, to be, or haben, which is to have. And so you look up sein und haben and all you get is fucking grammar shit. Ah, well, nice to see you. I will be back on at 11:30 p.m. tomorrow night, Eastern time. The enemy of being is having. Every link, it goes to PragerU, doesn't it? Enemy of being is having. Oh, wait. This is interesting. Okay. 20... The Objective Standard already was using that phrase in 2012 in relation to the Marxist-inspired Occupied movement. Yeah, but mostly, I mean, page 1, it's mostly PragerU. Have we got anything? Irving Kristol. Ah, okay, now we get closer to where they would have come up with this. Okay. Yes.
However, you're not to blame. The blame belongs to capitalism. The most common interpretation of Marx's philosophy suggests that he opposed capitalism because it creates an unjust world of inequality, exploitation, and class conflict.
That's not first of all, okay. That would probably be the most common interpretation, because he literally said that. He spent thousands and thousands of pages outlining why he thought that and what he thought could be done about that. So I'm guessing that's why that's such a popular interpretation. To the extent that it is capable of making sense when it's coming from these people.
Marxism, according to this view, is all about equalizing income and social status.
No, it's about abolishing wage labor capital in the state. Yeah. I mean, okay, so we've veered off into... They forgot to mention social democracy, which is what they seem to have decided to go.
But it doesn't go far enough. Marx saw the accumulation of material wealth as dehumanizing. The more money and material possessions one acquires, the more estranged one is from his true humanity.
Well, I mean, and what's interesting is we have interesting studies on empathy and wealth, and it turns out according to these studies, the more money you have, the less you give a fuck about other people.
And what was that? In the philosopher's socialist paradise, one gets to eat, drink, and go to the theater free of charge and without having to earn a living.
Well, I like how he just said without having. Yes, the point is that the idea that living, the thing that we like biologically, the alternative to dying is a thing that we actually have to earn every day rather than it simply being a given, is kind of fucked up, don't you think? Yeah, I mean, this is actually somewhat better than I would have expected. Yeah, I mean, this actually is like tolerably. Somebody who went with this would not be entirely wrong in their understanding of, what Marx was all about, certainly.
You get to do it without the guilt of being a moocher. All you have to do is enjoy yourself. Or, as Marx put it, you can do one thing today and another tomorrow. Hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon, and rear cattle in the evening. Yes, rear cattle in the evening. That's how in touch Marx was with reality. But
Yeah, because cattle are morning people.
who cleans out the sewers, does the dirty jobs that keep a society functioning?
Well, that's a very good question, and something that I seem to remember Marx actually having a... Yeah, exactly. It is an obvious rhetorical flourish. And, see, my impression was that Marx had actually quite a few things to say on the subject of undesirable work.
Ironically, in the evil capitalist society, the sewer cleaner freely chooses to take on his job.
Yes, I mean, every single person that you find down amidst the fucking fatbergs and the raw sewage, I mean, that's somebody who dreamed of doing that all their lives. It's all they ever wanted. If there were no money, if they didn't have to work for a living, they would be down there amidst the floating turds of an entire city freely.
In the socialist paradise, coercion is almost always required.
Okay, so in a socialist paradise, there's a boss with a clipboard looking over your shoulder. Unlike capitalism, where we don't have any bosses. Also, why is he, like, swabbing the floor of the sewer? Like, what, is there going to be a reception in the sewer? Why do you need to swab the floor of the sewer?
Never bothered with such messy details. He left that to others. Unfortunately, those others always turn out to be megalomaniacs, like Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Castro, Pol Pot, and Hugo Chavez.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so the idea is that in socialism, where you don't have to earn a living, people are coerced into working, whereas in capitalism, where you literally have to earn being alive by working in order not to fucking die, that's not coercion, apparently. This is cute. Okay, so wait a second. You're gonna say megalomaniacs, and you'll have... Okay, Lenin, Stalin... Okay, but we're not... Kim Il-sung isn't in there? The biggest fucking personality called out there? Although, I mean, the Platinum Jubilee was 4 days long, and Kim Il-sung's birthday only gets a one-day bank holiday, so I guess there is some competition in that regard.
They were the ones who brought Marx to life and in the process caused tens of millions to suffer and die.
I thought Marx's mom brought him to life, actually. I mean, I thought it was like his parents fucked and that brought him to life, eventually.
Contrary to Marx's claims, work freely chosen brings both money and dignity.
Wait, okay, so that's contrary to Marx's claims? Because my entire understanding is that the whole reason admittedly, I haven't read the crucial economic and philosophical manuscripts, which tell us that apparently that PragerU is right about everything, though it didn't look like it from my glimpse at the table of contents. But I kind of had this idea that Marx's whole point was that the only way you could have work freely chosen is if it wasn't in capitalism, and that, I mean, that the money was actually the reason work wasn't being that you couldn't just freely choose work, and it wasn't dignified.
Furthermore, most people work best when they pursue their own self-interest, an idea Marx despised.
No, not exactly. Because his whole point was that workers' self-interest is directly at odds with bosses' self-interest, because it's simple math. There's a revenue stream, and out of the 100% of the revenue that comes in, some of it's got to go to the boss, just for owning the shit, and the rest of it has to go to the workers so that they don't drop dead and can keep on doing the work. See, in capitalism, I love this is supposed to be like the capitalist utopia that they're showing us, and there has to be a cop right there to keep these four people in line. But yeah, exactly. The whole idea is that workers need to pursue their self-interest, which is to abolish the fucking capitalist system and their status as the working class. He was kind of adamant about it, and he was a little bit explicit.
To him, self-interest turns everyone into Ebenezer Scrooge, greedy.
So Marx is Dickens now.
Grasping and unfeeling. Not only is money, that is capital, inherently corrupting, but the acquisition of it can't be done honestly or fairly.
Okay, if we're gonna just equate money to capital, we've already that. See, it feels almost churlish pointing out that capital and money are not the same thing in Marx's usage when it's a PragerU video, because I mean,
the rich got rich by exploiting the worker. For Marx, there's no other possible explanation.
Yes, because there's math. In fact, you go to business school, and you find out that their entire equation for profit is based on the idea that there is there are diametrically opposed interests between the workers and the capitalists, because you have to subtract labor costs in order to get your profit or loss.
For many today, there is no other possible explanation.
Yeah, because it's true. I mean, there's no way that it works without exploitation.
These people, Marx offers a philosophical justification for their anger, even their rage.
I didn't need a philosophical justification for my anger or for my rage. I mean, just looking around is enough to provide a philosophical justification for both of those things, because things kind of fucking suck. Marx thought that self-interest under capitalism was necessarily antagonistic because the system pitted everyone against each other, but under socialism, self-interest would no longer be necessarily antagonistic. Yeah, that was sort of what I was trying to say, but not quite getting to. Yeah. Yeah, which is where he says the line, is this in the manifesto or someplace else, where he says that rather than one person's freedom being limited by another person's freedom, we go to a situation where one person's freedom is the necessary precondition for another person's freedom. I forget where he said that, but I mean, yeah, this is, surprisingly, this august educational institution, Prager University, is just remarkably full of shit.
From generation to generation, the formula never varies. Only by bringing the privileged down can the underprivileged be brought up. The venom that pours out of Marx's pen stems ultimately from the fact that reality wouldn't conform to his worldview.
Yes, I mean, that's, first of all, venom is such an interesting word, because if anything, mostly I find that Marx is not the most, his writing I would not call venomous, I would call extremely pedantic, actually, a lot of the time. Yes. Yeah, the free development of each is the condition of the free development of all. Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, what I love is they keep on saying all these things about, like, how venomous his writings are. Yeah, okay, I thought it was in the manifesto. Because that's, like, the first thing of his I ever read, probably most people who've read him ever read, and that quote's certainly been with me for a very long time. You know, his writing is so venomous that they won't quote a single bit of it. Well, yes. I mean, that's what the bourgeoisie are there for. They are there for us to be pissed off at them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be such fucking nongs.
It never seems to have occurred to him that people are complex beings with different talents, ambitions, and desires.
Okay, the guy in the middle looks like Gabriel Boric. Yeah, I mean, that's Marx. He just thought everybody was just one size fits all. Like,
It may be more accurate to say he didn't care. If people wouldn't conform to his worldview voluntarily, then the state would just have to use other methods of persuasion, like murder and terror.
Citation, please?
It all made sense to the philosopher as he toiled away in a corner of the British Museum or in his squalid London apartment.
Well, you see, you know that he really has nothing worthwhile to say because he didn't keep his apartment neat and he was just constantly writing and researching stuff. Yeah, no shit, it's one of the fundamental premises. I mean, the whole point is that rather than doing the things you might actually be inclined to do, naturally inclined to do, or whatever, you are forced to do whatever work is going just so you fucking survive. Yeah, I know, I mean, capitalism, I mean, one of the things that's really remarkable about capitalism, I really, as an anti-capitalist, this does give me pause. It's such a terror-free, peaceful, non-coercive system we live in. I mean, no cops, no wars. Nobody's telling you what to do under capitalism. As long as you make money for somebody.
What is astonishing is that millions came to believe him. What is tragic is that millions more suffered and died because they did. What is scary is...
Oh, okay, that's an interesting way that he just put it. Because if they suffered and died because they believed in Marxism, that's kind of that's like he's kind of telling on himself there, because yeah, that's true. Millions of people were in fact murdered because they thought Marx had the right idea. I mean, people are still being murdered for that in some places. You're free to speak your mind, my friend, as long as you agree with me. But don't criticize the fatherland or those who shape your destiny, because if you do, we'll send out all our boys in blue and find a way to silence you. Okay, that's not Marx. But who is it?
Is that millions continue to believe. I'm Brad Thompson, professor of political science at Clemson University for Prager University. In a remarkably short period of time, the philosophy of Karl Marx changed the course of history. At the height of its power, half the world fell under its dominion, kept there by a combination of fear, terror, and brute force.
Okay. Yeah, what's interesting is, of course, that there was no fear, terror, or brute force in the U.S.-dominated areas. I mean, when Vietnam said they wanted to have an election and become a unified, independent country again, the U.S. said, "Yeah, go ahead." I mean, there wasn't like a Vietnam War or anything like that.
Then suddenly, in the late 1980s, it imploded. By all rights, this should have been the end of Marxism.
But the thing is that the states that imploded actually had to rewrite Marxism in such an extensive way in order to even appear to be consistent with the ideas, that it is entirely possible to actually be a full-on Marxist and be totally unimpressed with all of those places.
But it hasn't turned out that way. From environmentalism with its rejection of free markets to critical race theory, which sees white patriarchy as the source of all evil.
Yeah, see, I see these visual aids are really good, because I would never have believed that critical race theory is the idea that white patriarchy is the source of all evil. But I mean, they got the receipts there. Look at that blackboard. She's written that. I mean, they clearly that's what the whole thing is all about.
You'll find Marxism at its root. The leaders of Black Lives Matter, for example, openly acknowledge their devotion to Marxist ideology.
Which leaders of Black Lives Matter?
How do we explain this fascination for something that has so utterly failed everywhere it's been put into practice? We can find answers in one of Marx's most enduring
I'm sorry, I zoned out when he said that. I thought he was talking about Elon Musk.
epigrams. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs.
Which is actually a Bible quote that he was riffing on.
Marx was a poor economist, but a talented journalist. The only actual job he ever had. He knew how to turn a phrase.
Okay, so researching and writing and coming up with a massive body of work analyzing the capitalist system, that isn't an actual job, because it wasn't making money for anybody, apparently.
But what does this slogan even mean? According to what ability? According to what need? And
according to their ability, according to their need.
who determines anyone's ability or anyone's need?
Them.
Marx never bothered to answer these obvious questions.
God. I mean, it's like the level of dishonesty in this, because yes, I mean, you're saying that he wrote all these like thousands of pages of just, his like published works, not to mention all the letters to the editor, all of the responses and things. Yeah, I mean, like, what, to each according to the needs of some undisclosed third party? Yeah, I mean, and if you didn't somehow understand the phrase, I mean, the context in which it was written would kind of clue you in that what we were talking about.
He had much bigger things on his mind. Nothing less than the creation of an entirely new kind of world for an entirely new kind of human being.
Wait, okay, and you're saying that the principle from each according to their ability, to each according to their need, is unrelated to the new kind of world that he was trying to sketch? I mean, because last I checked, that was kind of supposed to be one of the guiding principles of that entirely new world, so it's not exactly a distraction from it.
Marx believed that by altering man's economic and political institutions, he could alter, or even better, rewire the human brain. He could...
God, what, this mad scientist Marx? I mean, I missed that part of Capital where he talks about the brain rewiring. Or maybe that was in the foreword. No, that was in the foreword to the second or third edition of the manifesto, where they're talking about, we would have written this a little bit differently if we'd already seen what went down with the Paris Commune, and that's where we came to the conclusion that obviously you need to be doing some hardcore neurosurgery in order to make the whole thing work, and they had a whole discussion of the neurosurgery in the foreword.
Could conjure a new consciousness that would replace the old false one. This new man would be less selfish and acquisitive and more altruistic and communal. In short, he would be a superior type of man. Of course, this new man could only reach this goal if he wasn't preoccupied with having to earn money.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think a lot of us can point to examples from our own lives of that. I mean, just look at this stuff. I mean, you just look at the work that I do and the work that I would be doing if I did not actually have to pay bills or anything. Like, I do shit that just bores the crap out of me and I think is socially has the social utility of a fart. But I have to do it because that's what actually pays. If I was not worried about, if I was not worried about money, I'd be translating stuff that would be much more interesting to me and much more socially useful, but for which there's no money. Which is to say, most of the things that are more interesting and socially useful, there isn't any fucking money for them. I mean, it takes about 5 minutes for anyone who isn't completely sort of brainwashed by the capitalist system to realize how many more useful things to themselves and others they would be doing if they didn't have to go to some bullshit job.
According to Marx, money and the pursuit of it ruined everything. Marx hated.
That is actually, I take the piss out of their visuals, but that is actually kind of that's a remarkably accurate visual representation there. Let me just pull that up again.
Short, he would be a school if he wasn't of it ruined.
See, because the guy's chasing after this money, this banknote there, that is being artificially held just out of his reach, when in fact, it is literally already attached to his fucking body. That is actually a much better metaphor for capitalism, and particularly for what Marx would have to say about overcoming it, than I think they actually realized, or they probably wouldn't have used it.
And everything. Marx hated money. Maybe because he never found a way to make it.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, when you live in a society where whether you live or die depends on money, and you find that you can't get any, yeah, you might actually find that money kind of sucks shit.
Getting rid of it was central to his worldview. Once a person's subsistence, one's daily bread, was distributed on the basis of need rather than greed, man's natural communal affections, long suppressed by his capitalist overlords, would be renewed.
I mean, that is a massive oversimplification, but I wouldn't say that's wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's about right.
This is Marx channeling the 18th century French social thinker Jean-Jacques Rousseau, one of the few people Marx admired. According to Rousseau, this is what you...
Okay, did Marx... Let's just see. Okay. Well, he not in a particularly visible way, apparently. See, it had occurred to me that I don't think I'd ever remembered reading Marx saying anything about Rousseau, so I just decided to check the wiki, and they also say he rarely mentions him. So I'm not sure where this guy gets the idea that he admired him strictly, but there you go.
What you must do if you want to create a new society. He who dares to undertake the making of a people's institutions must feel himself capable of changing human nature, of transforming each individual who by himself is a complete and solitary whole into part of a larger whole from which the individual receives his life and his being. Understand this, and you understand not only a key feature of Marxist thought, but the dark history of the 20th century.
Okay, where is he gonna go here? I mean, I have a pretty good idea, but let's see him take this train into the station.
Marx took Rousseau literally. Human nature had to be returned to its allegedly pure, selfless state before capitalism, with its
He did not say a selfless state.
enlightenment and Judeo-Christian values.
Oh, and yeah, okay, fuck this bullshit about Judeo-Christian values. Nobody was talking about Judeo-Christian values at Marx's day, because Judeo-Christian is a term that was made up by white supremacists in order to sort of co-opt Jews into bigotry against Muslims. You know, fucking shit, he was part of the radical Enlightenment.
Corrupted him. But creating this new man would be a formidable task. Marx anticipated that many would object, especially the owners and managers that had a large stake in the capitalist system.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of see how they would object to a system where they aren't owners and managers of shit and are not actually any more powerful than anyone else. Yeah. and I have to wonder if maybe what we're seeing here in this academic theoretical work that we're all watching right now, written by oil billionaires, might be an example of capitalists and managers objecting. Yeah, I know. I consent. Henry Ford, do not consent. That would have been so much better if I'd already had a fucking name of some, like, traditional robber baron queued up, but I didn't, so...
Friendly persuasion wasn't going to get the job done. Only the ruthless application of state power would be up to the task. Marx was all for it.
Well, not what he says. First of all, what we're talking about at this point is, like, the section of the manifesto that he and Engels actually kind of went back and said they wouldn't necessarily have written it the same way after the Paris Commune, which they considered to be the first example of the dictatorship of the proletariat. But even in that original version, what they're talking about is, I mean, they explicitly say, when they say the state, they mean the working class as ruling class. So not strictly the state, like as in the existing institutions, which they specifically say that's going to be probably something of a non-starter. I don't remember if that was in the forward post-commune or whether that was in the original. But, yeah.
Private property, wage labor, competition in profits, these would have to go.
Yeah, I mean...
The state,
they would.
Now run by the workers themselves, the dictatorship of the proletariat, as Marx called it, would control production and pricing. It would wisely manage the economy.
Okay, the hilarious thing about this is that this is literally Caleb Maupin's view. I mean, I've seen him literally say this uncritically without pointing out that Marx and Engels didn't actually stand by this passage that they're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, and, like, there's a Caleb Maupin video, the one where he, it destroys BreadTube by pointing out overproduction in capitalism after calling them Malthusian for acknowledging overproduction in capitalism. He goes through this section exactly that they're using without pointing out that it was, that they distanced themselves from it in subsequent, post-commune editions. This is literally the Maupin treatment of the manifesto we're looking at right now.
From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs.
Yes, and when you know that context, I mean, it was kind of obvious to begin with, but you see why it was a ridiculous question to be acting like the possessive pronoun there, the his, was somehow undefined.
And imagine how wonderful it would be. No more ego, no more self-interest. Instead, everybody working for the benefit of everybody else. Peace, love, and harmony.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. I think there was also a foreword to the manifesto where they also say, where they distance themselves from this idea of using the ready-made state apparatus because of the experience of the commune. Which bit is part of the from Critique of the Gotha program? This whole thing that they just said? Because I'm pretty sure that's also in this foreword.
For many, it's a very seductive idea. Who wouldn't aspire to live in such a world? Look around, a Marxist might say. The powerful exploit the weak, crushing the majority's noble aspirations. Your aspirations.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. That's literally fucking true. I mean, I guess you can't literally crush an aspiration because it doesn't have a physical form. But other than that, yeah. Oh, okay.
Just so they can have more. It's unfair and unjust. How much better if we just start over, start clean? That's the Marxist.
Yeah, you've sold me. I mean, you're right. I mean, this existing system sucks shit. I mean, you've convinced me Marxism's fucking pog as hell.
Socialist dream. In real life, it's a nightmare. Needs become demands, and demands become rights. The best are mocked, and the...
Oh, wait, but what you've got there... Okay, the cop is mocking the best. Okay.
worst exalted. Innovation...
Wait, okay, you're telling us this in a society where we pretend that Elon Musk is clever and has worthwhile things to say. You're telling us this in a society where there's a thing called PragerU, and it is actually taken seriously by a frightening number of people. I think we're already in a world where the best are mocked.
Withers, while the government grows ever larger. Eventually, the productive become virtual slaves to the unproductive, and the society collapses.
Wait, okay. I mean, you're just describing capitalism. This is literally, I mean, what you're literally describing here is proletarianization in capitalism.
Economically, intellectually, and morally. And then the real horror starts.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is like, he's just literally describing capitalism.
If you think I'm exaggerating, just ask someone who fled the Soviet Union, or Cuba, or Venezuela. For all its risk...
How about asking somebody who's still there, too, though? Because, I mean, it's interesting. I've been kind of following Cuba's COVID figures, their COVID response, and they have been counting their new cases in the double digits for quite some time now. Practically nobody's dying. I mean, despite being economically strangled by the U.S., they managed to have a healthcare system whose outcomes are roughly on the same level as the U.S.'s, being the country with basically unlimited access to resources.
And inequities. They prefer freedom. And we should too. I'm Brad Thompson.
Okay, so wait, I thought you were saying that you were supposed to be defending the status quo, but now you're saying they prefer freedom and we should too? Yeah, I mean, so communism then.
Professor of Political Science at Clemson University for Prager University.
What the hell is Clemson University? Okay, upstate South Carolina, never heard of it. But, okay, we have reached 1 a.m., so it is time for me to wrap up. We will resume the last 5 minutes of it tomorrow, since 5 minutes in one of these videos works out to about half an hour of me talking about everything that's fucked up about it. So I will be back tomorrow at about 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., for the Saturday edition of the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you had a good time.